Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Great Live Tasting live from Manchester. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is something real special to have you guys here because we are tasting unbelievable wines from the glorious outfit that is Henschke.
Well, never heard of him.
No, a mediocre outfit if ever we've heard of one. Not true. This is International Syrah Day, or at least it was yesterday, and so we decided to drink an awful lot of Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah,
actually, considering and not a single drop of Syrah has been consumed. However, a decent amount of Shiraz is being consumed. Same grape, different name, different part of the world. But there was only going to be one outfit that we were going to laud on International Syrah Day. It is the pioneers, the pioneers of Australian Shiraz, the real kind of like where it's at.
One of the founding families of Australia.
Exactly, they've been doing it for as long as it's been done. Pre-phylloxera vines. Hill of Grace, a genuinely iconic wine, not just, and I don't mean this as any kind of like sort of like being damned by faint praise, but an iconic wine not just for Australia but for the world.
Yeah,
Hill of Grace up there with Penfolds Grange as the finest juice to come out of the Antipodes. I don't think there's anywhere really that can come close to them. They are just exceptional. And whilst we're not trying Hill of Grace, we are trying about this is about 1,200 pounds worth of wine that we have sat in front of us right here. What up, G? Yeah, that's right. This is a huge loss for my business. An enormous.
Hey, but we get to drink. It's like I'm back in the business. It's like, drink some great wine. Let's not make any money.
Are we making any money off this? No. Are we losing money off this? Yes. Does it lead to two awesome nights, one for me and one for both of us?
Yes.
Of drinking some of the best fucking juice that the world has to offer? Yeah, 100%. We're doing Henschke back vintages. We're joined by all of our fans on Zoom and everybody watching live on YouTube. What's up, everybody? Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. This is a real treat. This, to be honest with you, even if we could have sold more tickets, just simply the amount of wine that we had to give out across the course of the in-store tasting yesterday and the online tasting today meant that we're pretty shy, to be honest with you. We couldn't have done a great deal more because we're going deep into the back catalogue of Henschke. 3 wines, the Keenton Euphonium, which is a Barossa blend, mainly Shiraz, but Cab Franc and Merlot in there as well. The 100% single vineyard Man Edelston Shiraz from the Man Edelston vineyard, and then the Cyril Henschke from a tiny little plot of Cabernet from within one of their single vineyards, which is the Lenswood, the Eden Valley Vineyard.
It's got a name as well. It's the Cray something road, and it's 13 hectares, but a very small percentage of that vineyard is Cabernet, which Cyril himself planted.
Exactly, he planted it in 1976 or something like that, and it was then named after the now dearly departed Cyril Henschke, grandfather to the incumbent Stephen Henschke, as a way to honor him and the huge impact and influence that he had over their wines that they're knocking out right now. I'll be honest with you, with Cyril and Prue,
Stephen and Prue.
Yep. Stephen and Prue are winemaker and viticulturalist, husband and wife pairing, both hugely influential, particularly Prue, who's just been
Stephen.
I mean, I doubt that he would mind passing over that kind of plaudits to his fine lady wife, because she is genuinely hugely influential over biodynamic.
Reintroducing native plantation,
native grasses, biodynamic composting, particularly vine management, particularly not canopy management, the floor of the vineyard and all that kind of stuff. So she'd be hugely influential. They met whilst at university. They're now the 5th generation, by the way, of the Henschke family. Met whilst at university in Adelaide. We're going to go to the Adelaide University of Adelaide, and study enology and viticulture and all that kind of stuff. But thanks to a iconic German winemaker by the name of Becker, who was a family friend. Their roots, the Henschke roots, are from Silesia, which is now Poland, formerly part of the wider German Empire. The Germans, they do love their empire. What small empires they had. We don't talk about it.
Never forget.
But give up my mic. But because of that link, they then went out to West Germany, to the western part of Germany rather than West Germany. Though it would have been at the time, actually, considering the date, to learn from Herr Becker. How to make wine, and they brought all of that knowledge and influence and heritage back with them to, frankly, somewhere which is pretty fucking chock-a-block full of heritage, which is the Henschke estate in South Australia, mainly in Barossa, but also in Eden Valley. They one of the things I only found out as part of the research with this, South Australia never actually got phylloxera. So their pre-phylloxera vines are genuinely pre-phylloxera, namely ungrafted pre-phylloxera vines, 150 plus years old in the Hill of Grace.
Is that the reason why they actually check your shoes and the groves of your shoes?
All of that shit.
When you go into Australia,
they are ruthless. They have. It's not just obviously because to protect their viticulture, to protect all of the agriculture that goes on over there. They are so far away. It's the same in New Zealand. I remember I went to Cocktail World Cup and I bought this jar of like Korean aloe vera honey tea that we were using in our thing, and they took it off us at immigration. They were like, "Oh no, bro, you are fucking out of your mind if you think we're going to bring this in." And I was like, "Oh, shut no!" So we lost the main ingredient, and that's the reason why we didn't win, and also because the drink wasn't very good.
You got to bungee jump in New Zealand whilst making a cosmopolitan, all right? Or was that a powerboat?
Yeah, you bungee jumped, and then you had to do a free fall test after having done a bungee jump. I was like, "Oh fuck!" Amazing trip. Lekker Sean Ware, what's up, Butch? Definitely not watching.
I got to the prelims the following year or the year after that, and
hell of a trip, man.
We were Team Manchester, and the three people that won the heat was me, Binnersley, and Greg Adams, and then the guy who used to mark his own tins, living anyway, and we never met up again to actually practice our drinks, so we just forfeited.
Hell of a trip. Leanne Ware went. I think she was one of the judges the year I was there. Sean Ware obviously went. But this is all completely over or everybody's head that's watching. They're super strict about it. But actually, phylloxera did affect Victoria. So where all of the trade came in around Victoria, phylloxera. But the minute you had to make the trek across to South Australia in the 1800s, let alone Western Australia, it was just too inhospitable for the phylloxera grubs to actually make it that far. They died en route, and so it never got affected. So the vines here are.
So phylloxera didn't make it to Australia.
It made it to Australia, but didn't make it to South Australia or Western Australia.
Fascinating. That's why you tuned in, guys.
Facts. Come for the wine, stay for the facts.
Normally, I've got the facts. What's going on? You've actually done your homework on this. That's really good. Because I haven't this time because I am
hungover.
Slightly hungover.
Yeah, let's move on. The Quinta Euphonium is a Barossa blend, mainly Shiraz, Cabernet, Cab Franc, and a little bit of Merlot, straight Shiraz, and the Eden Valley Cabernet Sauvignon by the Cyril Henschke. One thing, we're going to change this. We're going to do 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 4. Because I want us to finish with the O2. The O2 Mount Edelstone.
You had this little sneak peek last night.
Well, I did a whole tasting on it last night, and
I believe you.
I genuinely this is no exaggeration. I had you lock eyes like something out of a fucking movie where you see who's going to be the one love of your life, and you see them, you make eye contact with them, and all the hairs stand up on your arm. It was like a rush went up the back as I sipped it, particularly after having tasted the 18, which was still great, but then to have the O2, which was the 18, but with all of these, the old vintage. So whether it's the 12 Keynton, the O2 Mount Edelstone, or the O3 Cyril Henschke, it's just gives you such an insight into how aging a wine just brings something monumental out of it.
Yeah, that whole sort of like hair standing up movie moment. I've had that. What's up, Susie? I know exactly what you mean, and I'm
she's not watching.
Nah, she's not watching. But I can't wait to get in. I've had one moment when I had a back vintage of Mount Edelstone, which was the 05, actually. That's a couple of years back. Me and chap called Alex Proudfoot, we had What's up, mate? We had dinner at mine, and we opened it up, and I just remember decanting it, and it literally filled my whole house with this incredible aroma. And then we have 15 martinis and don't remember drinking the wine. So I'm looking forward to actually getting on the skin of a bank vintage properly.
Well,
Here
we've
we
got some
go.
treats. So 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 4 is going to be the
You lead the
order
way,
that
mate.
we do it. We don't need to do how to taste wine because we have a very select audience. We're still talking like we're talking to the whole of the internet because technically we are. We're live streaming, but
Nobody's watching.
nobody's watching. So let's get cracking with wine number one. The Keynton Euphonium, stupid name for a brilliant wine. Keynton is the town that Henschke HQ is located at, little town in South Australia. Adelaide Hills, kind of sort of neck of the woods, I believe. And a euphonium is a particular type of brass instrument. I think one of the I want to say fucking what was his name?
The Keynton Euphonium is described by Jancis Robertson as an Australian classic at a less iconic price.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I mean. What we're talking about is the prices on there. That 74.50 is based on half the price because we could only get it in Magnum.
Oh no!
For us.
Oh no!
Yes, 150 odd quid's worth of wine there, and there's a bottle's worth in there. But it was named after what? No, fucking who was it? Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna find this. One Paul Gottard Henschke created, I think, the Henschke,
in 1891.
the Henschke brass band in that area. Euphonium is one of the instruments they used to make it.
They've completely done it up and restored it, and it's now hanging proudly in the cellar door, which is the original. What is it? The sheep shaving kit, whatever.
Yes, indeed.
What are you doing?
What we're going to do is we're going to do these side by side because the whole kind of purpose of the tasting is to taste
the same wine from different vintages. I love it.
Vintages. So we are going to
womp and womp, yeah.
Smash one. We've got backup, so there you go. We're going to analyze them side by side, taste them side by side, and we can really pick out the differences we got here. So there are some interesting differences in terms of the vinification. The 2018, so the most recent vintage, this is wine number one, 69% Shiraz, 23% Cabernet, 9 Cab Franc, and 3% Merlot. Whereas the older one is in fact 65% Shiraz, 20% Cab Sav. So the same amount of Shiraz in both, marginally less Cab Sav in the older wine, more Merlot, 10%, and 5% Cab Franc. So that's dropped. And then the interesting thing about the maturation, they both spent 18 months in oak hogsheads before being blended and bottled, but 20% of the wines, Poppy, get out of it. 20% of the wines in the 18 are new, right?
Yep.
Whereas only 15% in the 12 are new. However, 71% of the new wine is French oak, and 60%, 90% of the old wine is French oak. So there's less oak and it's French in the older wine. There's more oak and it's more American in the newer wine. So expecting more oak to be given in that younger wine.
So I'll have a little bit of info that makes sense. The older wine, because obviously if it ages gracefully, to have something with higher acidity, higher tannin structure, like a higher percentage of Cabernet in there, for instance, and using French oak, which
so there's less Cabernet, more Merlot.
In the older one,
I
thought it was the other way around.
No, 23% and 20%. So more Merlot, which will be interesting. How is that going to impact the final product? They're both much in terms of ABV. The newer wine, 0.5% in there. In terms of other kind of like other key things, they was harvested a little bit earlier. Started the harvest a little bit earlier in the old wine. And we've got a little bit more acidity in the old wine as well, which will help it as we age. So let's do a little bit of a dissection, shall we?
So let's start with the color, because obviously that's straight away really interesting. And you guys at home who are joining us on this day, and you guys have done plenty of tastings, and it's really quite blatantly to see that the old wine is much more.
So I'm going to push back a little bit. It's not necessarily that blatant. Like, it's not as huge of a difference as I maybe expected, and as we will see later on. particularly with the 03 Cyril Henschke, where those are much more clearly defined older wine. But Barry is quite right that we got more brick and garnet with the older wine, and more ruby purple with the younger wine. There's also a good amount more of that sort of really fine sediment that didn't come out with filtration when we decanted it yesterday. So there's a little bit of that knocking about in the older wine.
This one is also slightly bricky because it's 2018. It's still a significant amount of time.
It's not
six years of aging, 18 months in wood, and then 2 years in bottle before release. So yeah, they're currently on a younger vintage over in Australia, but I guess in the importer. Never heard of them, Liberty, but yeah, they obviously
mediocre outfit.
Mediocre outfit, yeah. More for life. Cheers.
The legs are actually a touch quicker on the old wine. A touch quicker, but they're not. Neither of them are rapid. Neither of them are particularly stained.
I consider there's differences in ABV as well with some of the younger and older wines. It's only 0.5%, but it
does make a difference.
Does make a difference.
100%.
Is there any difference in this one? There is indeed.
Yeah, 0.5.
Yeah,
14.5 on the 18, 14 on the 12. So we've got a real sort of plush nose. Lots of fruit on the on the 18. Sort of a zing.
Is it savouriness as well?
Yeah. That was something that really came out yesterday. Loads of savouriness on this wine in particular, which made the Edelston almost taste sweet by comparison. It was a bit crazy.
Can't wait. Can we have that one now?
So there's a little bit of there's some really beautiful florality, sort of violet kind of vibes coming out.
Eucalyptus.
Yeah. Bit of mint.
So I've got these little pastels. I went to Holland last week.
Oh, I saw
24 hours. Wow. I was there for one day to, go have a cup of tea with my mum. And there's these little pastels. They're called Diele. They're licorice little throat sweets. And as a kid, I just used to eat them because, it's good for your throat. And they're also delicious.
It was delicious.
But it's eucalyptus and licorice. What's up? They're in my car. I'll get you some later.
Liam Rosie say, I thought that bottle was just closer to the camera. No, that's a Magnum. What's up?
She's a beaut.
So it's funny on the Henschke website, the review that was done of the 2012 Kington Euphonium was done in March 2014. So this what what was written on that website is fuck all to do with what we're tasting right now, because this is
completely developed.
Completely developed.
It's become more tertiary, as to be expected.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Less fruitiness. It's a bit more earthy.
Yeah.
A bit more mushroom.
More kind of savoury.
Good meat.
Irony, meaty, steaky.
I had Wagyu steak yesterday. What was it?
I had a Big Mac.
Yesterday as well?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just before this tasting.
You have no way. Having a Mac come down, Mac regret.
Let's have a little fucking zip at it, shall we?
Doing the
18?
18 first.
Close, everybody. It's got some nice expressive tannins, but they're not overpowering. It's got that lifted acidity, which is giving it that sort of that extra bit of Cabernet in there, giving it a little bit more of that kind of cassis. There's a sort of bitterness towards the end of it, which gives it a kind of longevity and a sort of a seriousness. It's got a little bit of not volatility, but it's got a little bit of
Tannins are pronounced, man. They're right there, particularly in the middle of the tongue. Still very fruity, but it's got a very, very dry finish.
Yeah, big time.
Beautiful. Oh man, I only a glass. You know what I drank with my Wagyu steak yesterday? Fake Tianello from Albi.
Toscana Rossa.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah.
With your Wagyu steak.
Yeah, right on.
Fucking hell, mate. You work in wine.
Well, I was there and I was like, I need a quick bottle because everything in my wine rack is mucho expensive or not ready. So, it's just sitting there.
Definitely getting a bunch of licorice off this one. The one thing which we have to preface all of this by saying, as we're going into such an iconic lineup of wine, is this is a £55 wine. Okay. That's not nothing, right? That is not an everyday wine. It is a relatively special occasion wine, but it is an affordable wine that you could look at and go, yeah, I'll go for that. You're not going to feel necessarily super guilty about it. It's not particularly hard to get a hold of. It is, as Jancis Robinson described it,
It's affordable luxury. Like I said,
affordable
it's affordable, iconic Australian wine because it has got that Henschke quality thread running through the wine.
Yeah, big time.
You know, and this is, yeah, like you say, it's all from their own estates. There's other wines that you guys might have tried as well, which is the Henry 7, which is that GSM blend, but that doesn't come from their own estates vineyard. So that comes from no less trusted growers that I've worked with for decades, and that they're in complete control of what happens in the vineyard. So might as well just own it.
Yeah,
they just don't own it, but they do all the work in the actual vineyard.
Yeah.
So
a little bit of screen sharing, a nice, like a little video. Here we go.
Very perfumed, isn't it? Gorgeous. Can I have to?
A Verbo is for sharing all kinds of moments.
Apologies for that. Shitbags.
What do you call it? Adverts.
Yeah.
The Caton Euphonium began its life as Henschke Dry Red. So my father Cyril made a red wine from the local relatives in the district. The village was called Caton and named after the Caines family. Must have been about the early mid-90s we decided that we wanted the wine to be more representative of the region. And we had the three historic instruments from the family brass band, the clarinet, the cornet and the euphonium. The euphonium is such a beautiful instrument, and the name matched much better. The Henschke family band, brass band, was established in 1888 by Paul Gotthard. There was a young boy in the band who was my grandfather. He was about 10 and he played the big drum to keep the beat for the band. My grandfather and Paul Alfred then took over the brass band, and he continued the band, family band, going for many years as well. Euphonium is a brass wind instrument, somewhat like a trumpet, just much more beautiful looking and a deeper tone.
And the old one we have is a different pitch, so it's got a lovely softness about it.
It was a straight Shiraz from the 50s right through to the 80s. But as we planted more Cabernet Sauvignon, we kept on thinking we have other red wines in our portfolio that are straight Shirazes. It'd be nice for this wine just to be a little bit more savoury, a bit more food friendly. So we did a trial and we blended some Cabernet Sauvignon into the wine, and we really liked the texture and the structure and the fine grained tannins.
Well, the Caton Euphonium has this beautiful plushness of Shiraz and then a really beautiful savoury finish from all the Cabernets.
The heart and soul of this wine is our Eden Valley vineyard that my father Cyril planted in 1968. I see that the spice of Eden Valley, the sage and pepper of Eden Valley, the dark fruits, the blackberry fruits, but then there's a sort of lovely texture that the Barossa Shiraz brings into it as well, and a nice mouthfeel and fine-grained tannins from the Cabernet. I think people love Caton Euphonium because it's very approachable, and we give it some bottle age before we release it. It just has that sort of approachability, has that lovely savouriness and food friendliness, but it's got elegance and deliciousness about it.
I guess a couple of really key points to draw out from that is the way they describe it as being food friendly. That's something we heard echoed from Elena. Dandelion,
acidity,
high
tannin
acidity, tannin structure. Something that's going to stand up to the food that is going to be put in front of.
100%.
I've got to be honest with you, I don't know a food that this couldn't possibly isn't robust enough to stand up in front of and be counted. The youth of this is one thing that we're going to really analyze now versus the older 2012, where my experience yesterday was that sort of intensity and vividness of flavor has just mellowed like a well-worn shoe, a leather shoe that your foot just slides into perfectly. Cheers. 2012. It's got a really luscious weight to it. The volatility of the alcohol has just become mollified over time.
This is the first one. I can't wait for the rest. And this is already outstanding.
Outrageous, isn't it? It's
so delicious.
It's just the vibrancy and energy of the 18
so soft
has just been softened to a point where it's like a throw that your grandma had at her house that's been washed, because she's had it for 40 years. It's been washed 1,000 times. It smells of that house. It's soft. It's just like everything is just gentle, and all the rough edges are all smoothed off completely. And whilst the aroma is tertiary, you've still got some zip and zing on the palate.
Still very much alive. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
But again, the acids have just toned down. Acidity, yeah. So Lee says, how much would that 1958? The one where it's called the Henschke Dry Red. I imagine that would be pretty much impossible to get a hold of. I don't think there's much money you could throw at them that they would actually accept for it. Really full and soft, which I think is a great way to describe it. Full and weighty, but soft, and the acidity has dropped off to a point where it's just it's still there, which keeps the wine energized and stops it from being flat, which arguably when you get to the 03 we might find. But at this stage, I mean, in terms of the way that they describe it, they say it's got 20 years worth of cellaring on it. So you can be drinking this for another 8 years or so before it really will have faded away completely. And is that but it's funny because the 02 Mount Edelston, they were talking about you could drink it up until 2045, and it was made in 2002. So 42 years later, it's still going to be game on. Is that just a question of we're in a lower class of grape here? It's not that top class, because I know with the Cyril they break it down into in the Mount Edelston they break it down to the top, the middle, and the bottom of the vineyard.
That's it, yeah.
So they can, I guess, the top maybe gets, and I'm guessing here, gets more sun, so therefore will be riper, and the bottom gets less, therefore higher acidity, and you blend it in different quantities. So they have that level of precision when it comes to these single vineyard wines. But this one, because it's definitely not a table wine by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a lower class of wine by comparison to the other ones. Is it just that they're not using the top tier of grape and free run juice in this one? That's why we're only looking at 20, or is that just vintage?
It's a combination of both. I would say, for instance, the vintages obviously, they differ massively, and there's some really interesting research that's gone into these particular wines specifically, that details how different vintages can be and how that affects the overall yield that you're going to get from the vineyards. So that differs. Obviously they have to make adjustments on when they're going to go and harvest the fruit as well, depending on the weather phenomena in that specific year. But I think with this, because that still comes from their own vineyards, this is not necessarily a table wine. This is one of their higher range. This is like the entry point of their
top tier
iconic range.
You're quite right.
So I think it's a combination of the two. They're the lower end of their wines, which there isn't really any. They're not really lower end. You know what I mean? They're still what 25 quid retail for the Henry 7 or something like that.
Yeah, and then some.
Yeah. So they don't come from their own vineyards. I think that's what the difference is as well here. And another interesting thing, while she was showing that video, is it said Hermitage on the label, which is obviously a nod to the famous wines, and particularly from the region in the Côte d'Rône, which is called Hermitage, which is obviously
Didn't they get in trouble?
Syrah led. I'm just having a quick Google, and it was
pull that shit up.
When you look at Hermitage, which is tied to the French wine region, was removed to adhere to these regulations. The point of the name James Grange, and this is referring to Pensfall's Grange, who one of the pioneers alongside the guys at Henschke. So yeah, it looks like they'd get in trouble for putting it on. You know what the French are like? It's like, hey, no, this is our name, so you
cannot do it. You cannot sell it here if you do that.
I remember there was a sparkling wine from the guys at D'Arenberg, which is another founding family of Australian viticulture, and they put like a red stripe across the label, the poly, look, to be fair, it did look like GH Mum champagne, or and they told them like you can't do that because it looks too much like a label, and everyone's like, fuck off, man.
Yeah, you shove it up your fucking hole, man. I do love the Yanks with their classic antipathy towards all of the Frenchies. Not huge fans. The Yanks can actually call sparkling wine champagne. Or at least they have taken the opportunity to call their sparkling wines champagnes, which I think is hilarious. You can get American champagne, you just can't sell it. You can't sell it, and I'm pretty sure you can't sell it in Europe. And I'm pretty sure that there might have been something like they were calling it. Although no, this was in Russia. In Russia, they were calling their wine champagne. This is our champagne. It's very good for the Bentley.
made from potatoes.
Champagne. And they loved Louis Roederer so hard that Louis Roederer said, we're not going to send you any champagne unless you stop calling this shit champagne. And so the Russians then went, okay, fine. And so stopped it because otherwise they couldn't get Cristal.
Oh, Cristal was made for Russian style.
Yeah, exactly, which I think is hilarious. So in terms of the vintage differences, so 18 considered a standout vintage of the decade. Late December was warm, healthy canopies. Summer months of January and February were warm and dry, above average overnight temperature, so not huge diurnal shift. So I guess the vines weren't massively stressed, which meant they had quite a good yield. March and April, light and warm, full balanced maturity, so they were able to develop and ripen slowly, full phenolic ripeness, not just sugar ripeness, which meant that 2018 is an iconic vintage and will be one that can be drunk for years and years and years to come. Whereas 2012 was slightly different. 2003 was a dreadful year, and July in 2012 was as bad.
Similar drop.
Yeah. However, the spring was then mild. Wet drizzly weather, slow ripening. We like slow ripening. Slow ripening gives us full and developed flavors that gives us longevity and all of that kind of stuff.
High aroma compounds, you get high acidity,
intense fruit flavors, high color figures, high acidity, mature tannins.
That's good.
But then there was huge rainfall in late January and late February.
Is that during what's the stage of the vine in that time?
January and February. That's peak summer.
Is that Verizon? So ripening period.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But which apparently tied in well with the natural physiology of the dry grown vines, keep the leaves active at veraison and ripening. Temperatures were mild during harvest throughout March. Love that. Means it can stay on the vines for longer. Warm into an Indian summer, so it then got hotter later, which is good, because that means that you get an extra kick of ripen. It means you don't get a dump of rainfall, which is then going to wash everything out.
Right, nice.
Long window of picking, amazing maturities with the red varieties. Stand out apparently with the Rieslings. Well, we do have the opportunity to go and look back at some back vintages of the Rieslings if we were of a mind to do so. But I think we're doing pretty well with this.
I've never really tasted old Riesling, and even though that's one of the white wines that is, guaranteed it can age because of the high acidity.
Yeah, you must. When did I get? I got in over Christmas. Maximin Abtsberg, Grosses Gemacht, 05.
Oh,
got it in over Christmas at some point.
Was it? Or did you not taste it? Did you just sell it?
Can't remember.
Oh,
it wasn't that expensive.
Was
it 05 or was it 15?
I don't know.
Might have been 15. Anyway, right. So the Kings and Euphonium, between the two of them, I think there's a clear winner, which is the 2012. What do you guys think at home?
I've got to agree. I just love, and you know what? I've got a confession to make. Usually for me, I usually tend to lean towards the younger wines because I like fruit purity in my wines. I don't like my wines to of old books. And in this case, I think the balance of the wine is outstanding. You still have some energetic fruit purity in that wine, but it's really mellowed and aged so incredibly gracefully. The mouthfeel, the texture, sometimes maybe because all the wines that I've had have been like Pinot Noirs and stuff, so usually I'm thinking like it's quite watery, quite thin, and there's really nothing really about it. It's tasting of forest floor, mushroom and meat. It's like, what is my fruit? What is my juicy strawberry? But I really, really enjoyed drinking that. And is there more left of it? Good.
Yes, there is. There's also some in here also. So I'm tempted with that in mind to instead just stick to the order.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Shall
We'll
we
go
do
straight for the Mount Ellison then.
Well, all right, we're gonna stick with the original order, guys at home. 1, 2, and now we're gonna do 3 and 4. Just because I want to.
So
but
we've only got 4 glasses remaining, and there's 5 wines. So what do you reckon we're going to do? Are we going to reuse one of them now, or do that with the Cyril maybe?
we're gonna have fresh glasses for this
For
match.
this? Okay, cool.
Rosie says the same about younger wine and the fruit. Yeah, we love fruitiness. And one thing I guess I've been really lucky in recent times because our tastings have been built quite a lot around getting back vintages, of various wines. The 1999 Chateauneuf de Pape that we had the other day.
Yeah.
Being one example. And then we also had some other old Cabernets. I can't remember which ones off the top of my head right now. But I'm thinking the 09 Margaux Chateau d'Oeuf au Vivant.
Well, that was a standout for you in
that-
the news is, right?
Actually, the one that was a standout was the 17 Gevrey by Jane Eyre, because it was a Burgundian Pinot Noir that I went, fuck.
Holy fuck.
But
Excuse me.
but
I mean,
but
holy
but
shit.
one thing
holy
which I think is really sort of showing through for me is I love younger Cabernets, and I love apparently I love older Shirazes.
Yeah, because you don't really drink or like
The
Shiraz at
acidity,
all.
no, I really don't.
Mm.
These are different beasts. There's 185 and 270 quid's worth of wine going on right here, right? But I think that with the benefit of time, with the Shiraz, the tannins fall away and the acidity falls down, right?
Why is that still so fruity?
Mate, fucking
Ridiculous.
the O2 it was like
It's almost like nosing.
it's like it's the wrong way around.
Yeah. What the heck?
But it 100%
This is
isn't.
really savoury and this is really fruity.
It's fucking mental.
Wow.
Whereas I think Cabernet, you maybe lose some of that fruit vibrancy with age, particularly age, right? But right, Mount Edelstead, single vineyard expression, between 90 and 100-year-old vines. In other words, when the 2002 was harvested, the vines were 90 years old. When the 2018 was harvested, the vines were 106 years old. So let's have a little crack at this absolute fucking beaut of a wine, shall we?
You can 100% tell by the look of it which one is the older one. So
Exactly. You can get that easy.
Mistake in that.
There's very little sediment in this compared to the other, which I'm wondering is because maybe the tannins in the Cabernet fall off and we get more.
What the shit is that? That is ridiculous. Oh my god.
In terms of legs,
It's just maybe because I stuck my nose in there, I can't smell anything here now.
it's there. It's definitely there. Legs are thicker and more pronounced on the older wine, I guess you might expect.
It smells like coffee and chocolate, the younger one to me.
Right. Let's
Smells like an espresso martini.
fucking go.
What is that note? There is something really familiar, and it's reminding me something of my childhood. I don't know what it is though.
So we start with the 18. There's a earthiness, as in like a freshly turned over mud, like a freshly plowed field.
Where's the fruit? I'm struggling.
Yeah, that was one thing that we found yesterday as well. Fruit was quite muted. The other stuff that was going on was a little bit overpowering on it, and if not overpowering, then certainly dominated.
I got like the crema of a good cortado, or like an what is it, a
Yeah,
piccolo,
yeah.
or no, it's not cortado because that's with milk. A piccolo espresso.
There's a kind of real peaked note of like fennel or some kind of really aromatic perfumed herb.
I like fennel because that's anise, isn't it? But it's not like that sort of eucalyptus vibe that you got with this one. And already sticking my nose in there. Wow, that's so.
So, interestingly, all of it aged for 20 months in the 18, 27% new, 77% French. Whereas in the 2002, which we'll come on to in a bit, 62% new, so loads more oak, and 40% American. So
Okay, that's
so
interesting.
loads more oak and loads more Yank oak in the 2002 as opposed to the 18. Kind of spicy complexity.
Smells amazing, man.
I mean, like, it's going to come up short next to the 2002. I can promise you. However,
Tasting. I'm just trying to see what the sort of like recommended tasting notes are on the 18 because I'm,
The 18 I've got
I'm
here,
really struggling. It's really
spicy complex, dark fruit aromas, blackberry, dark red plum, blueberry, sage, bay leaf, thyme, anise, black pepper, nutmeg, and cedar. That's what the
on the Libertage website. Blackcurrant, blackberry, blueberry. Don't get any of that. Lifted notes of sage, bay leaf. I can dig that. Crushed flowering herbs, black pepper, anise and cedar. I mean,
it's got a bit of a tingle on the old schnoz in terms of
it's like
alcohol.
coffee,
Yeah, like
like coffee cake, like coffee and walnut cake.
You walk into a good coffee gaff.
Yeah,
guy is just pulling a fucking espresso as soon
exactly.
as, soon as
There's
you
like
walk
the
in there.
Roman. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not like
exactly.
necessarily like having a cup of coffee. It's just like, yeah, let's taste. Yay!
A lovely
Oh, wow.
silky weight and depth. Nice body. Racy acidity. The wine feels silky in the mouth because of it.
Mm. Oh, the finish is nuts.
Super layered.
It's nuts. It's so complex. Like I say, the stages to the finish, acidity,
That
fresh
coffee's
fruit.
kind of giving way to like a deep roast on like a dark porter. More fruit on the palate than there is on the nose.
There is more fruit on the nose now. If you go back to nose and after it's been in your mouth, when everything's connected, I got more of a balsamy, like Vicks Vapor Up, but in a good way. That's the stuff you have this in Vicks Vapor Up.
Yeah.
Have you got it in England?
Yeah, in England we call it Vicks Vapor Rub.
I like it in Holland. We call it Vicks Vapor Up.
Vapor Rub.
Yeah.
The tannins are expressive, but they are super fine and integrated.
It's quite boozy as well.
It's actually less boozy than the O2, at least at the point of bottling.
Well, exactly. That alcohol is obviously dissipated over time, and if you probably would do an alcohol by volume test now, the alcohol would have dropped.
Almost definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, not almost. It will have done, won't it? It's got a kind of like
cheese, have you?
humidor.
No cheese.
No, I didn't bring any cheese. I just bought you £1,000 worth of wine, mate. So.
Got to do more than that. I expected more from the younger one.
I think
100 quid, 150 quid,
185.
Fuck,
I would say, and bear in mind that this was opened and decanted yesterday, so it's had as much chance as it couldn't be more open than it is right now.
That's disappointed me.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it disappointed me.
Well, for what I was expecting from the wine, I was like thinking, okay, I'm drinking Madison today. Like, if I paid 185 quid for that and opened it, like, it's very nice, but it's not really what I expected from it.
I think
maybe I've hyped it up too much.
I think it's at the lower end of its drinking window.
Yeah,
it's probably
100%.
not actually in its drinking window yet. Whatever.
It is really complex, but it's a lot. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for this. They just need to lay it down, I think.
Well, should we try the? Should we try the fucking this is the entry level Pokemon. This is the fucking shiny.
This is the shiny.
This is Charmander and this is Charizard.
Oh my God.
Is that a Pokemon reference that works?
Yes.
Does that work?
Yes. Pikachu, Charizard, Bulbasaur, all of them. How is that so much more expressive whilst there's so much more age on that? It's mind bending almost. How does that?
The fruitiness it has fallen away, but by no means as much as you might expect for a wine which is 22 years old.
I find this way more fruity than this one. Really do. It's like almost like it's inverted. It's ridiculous. the eucalyptus on that, like that minty note.
It's
Is
that
like
same fucking
ridiculous.
feeling up the back of my neck.
Wow.
Oh my fucking god.
Like coming up and a ping. Not that I've ever done any, Mum.
Tarragon but minty, says Liam Rosie. It's really good, but disappointing at the money. We agree.
For the younger one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I just expected more from it. You know, it's like because I've been hyping up. It's like, oh my god, I'm tasting mountains today. Cannot wait.
There's something there,
Well, we've got the oat zwei here.
So this might sound strange, right? But there's an aroma there of plasters.
Oh, what?
You know, like you can get like the plaster, you know, like plasters, but you get them in a big long strip and you cut them. Now I say that as only. Oh. I say that only by means of bigging it up because I love that smell.
Oh my days! Wait,
smoke.
Moment of silence.
Jam.
Bitte. Oh, that's delicious. Wow.
Balsamic.
Oh man, how did that keeps on going? Like reduced, concentrated balsamic vinegar. Oh my gosh.
There you go. Look at the state of it.
Brilliant.
Mate, if you had some right now, it would be on the fucking table. The tannins are silk knickers. The finest, like you know, you go and you buy the special lady in your life a pair of silk fucking undies, and you spend money. You spend.
I know what you're talking about, mate. Primark, innit?
Fucking. Oh my fucking god.
Yeah, that is absolutely sensational.
Liam Rosie say best tasting note ever. What silk panties?
Tarzan in the other room, I hope, because you know. Yeah, that's really quite exceptional. That's up there with some of the best wine I've tasted. Right here on camera, live. Top 5 for sure. And the Hill of Grace. And that's maybe 2 of their wines that make that top 5. You know, one of them I vaguely remember. Chateau Brun Cantignac was another one. I've obviously tried Mouton Rothschild, which was amazing. It was way too cold though.
Just keeps going. It keeps going as like a, but it's not. It's the subtle insistence. It's not a shout. It's the quiet word from the actual boss. You know what I mean? The 18 feels like it's by comparison anyway. The 18 feels a little bit like it's the middle management guy.
Oh wow!
Who doesn't really have the authority and is making up for it by shouting as loud as he can. He's stretched his voice a little bit. He's a little bit squeaky with it. Whereas this guy is the fucking boss, right? He just comes in, he goes, he says one word, and everybody goes, oh, okay. Do you know what I mean? Like it's authority. It's got a kind of like.
It's so well developed. It's got those cigar box vibes. You know, like fresh tobacco leaves, coffee, balsamic, but in a really, really good way. And still that fruit is on the nose, but it's not necessarily, well, it is still on the palate, but it's very blackcurranty and concentrated is what I absolutely adore in a wine. That is sensational. Moral of the story is stick that in your wine cellar for a bit. Thing is though, if that was the only wine we were tasting today, that would be outstanding. Do you know what I mean?
It's still outstanding.
Yeah,
it's still outstanding.
Of course it is. Outstanding. Which one is the winner for you out of those 2? Okay, we know.
Yeah, 4. The 2002 Mandelston is it might be the best wine I've ever tried.
Wow, that's a big shout. How so? Describe it. How do you feel when you're drinking this?
So I feel like I'm drinking something where I'm lucky enough to be drinking something which is at the exact peak of where it should be drunk. Arguably, we drank this 2-3 years ago. It might even be
even better.
Yeah,
perhaps.
Just because you might still retain a little bit more of that. But actually, I love that this is the Shiraz here is showing what it can do, and is doing so with style, effort, and effortless grace.
I can't believe you have to say this about Shiraz, Tom.
Well, I mean,
What was on top of that? Is that the
glass?
Is that on the Cyril?
Yes, glass stopper.
Like that. Trust me. Like
You're right.
that. What the fuck is that? Is that the one on the Cyril? Was there none on these?
No,
And
no.
it's interesting to see like the bottles have changed as well, haven't they?
They haven't really. If you look at the front of them, I don't know if they've been.
No, but you mean the shape of the bottle? Can you see?
Yeah.
That one is like sort of smaller. This one's a bit more higher, and
Whereas these guys are all almost identical, apart from the fact that this was cork, the only cork. And I find it interesting that in 2002 in the Mount Eddleston they
Was
used
also cork.
Delvin.
just Stelvin, nothing underneath. Nothing underneath. Because the Hill of Grace, when we had that had Stelvin, and you know, the whole joke about the stories like when me and Jen spoke to Stephen that in COVID when we were tasting this whole incredible range, and he said, yeah, well, why would I, you know, put it on the cork if this is my most iconic wine and send it halfway across the world? So it's like 600 quid retail bottle of wine to put on the screw that. Come on. But when you open the Hill of Grace underneath that Stelvin is one of these glass stoppers. I've got it at home. It says Hill of Grace on it. So I just wondered if this is the only one I had a glass stopper, which is the current vintage of the Cyril.
Yeah.
Interessant. These two both on the cork, on the Stelvin rather.
Yep.
Wow. Cool.
Interesting, huh?
Very cool.
What
did you guys think?
So Molly might be the only 18-year-old in the world that's tasted a 2002 Eddleston. I'm going to push back on that because the 6th generation of the Henschke family have probably tried them all. However, Molly is the furthest north, the furthest northern latitude 18-year-old to have tried a truly exceptional wine. And it's good that you did that so that her boyfriend can't impress her future boyfriend. She might have her future boyfriend can't impress her with a Chateau Bar-A-Foot because she's fucking drunk a 2002 fucking Mount Eddleston Henschke Shiraz.
But so there's 3 of you tasting these at home. I'm guessing. Were you guys all singing off the same hymn sheet? Was the older one by far the best one? Where does this rank in the wine drinking experience that you guys have had in your life? Because I know you guys drink some really, really good juice. Is it in the top 5 for you guys? For me, certainly. Maybe even top 3. You know? And I think it's also, as we always hammer on about, it's also the occasion, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
It's got those 2 clean glasses.
It's
2002 is like Angel's Tears. This is the way they described it.
Angel's Tears. I love it.
So in terms of
Cabernet, never heard of it, mate.
In terms of the rundown of what was the 1, 2, 3 yesterday, it was pretty universal that number 4, the 2002 Mount Eddleston, came in at number 1, and then in number second place was number 5, which is the 2018 Cyril Henschke.
Wow, that was Cabernet.
That was pretty much across the board, and then we had a little bit of an argument as to whether or not the 12 or the 6 came in. This is straight Cabernet from the Eden Valley Vineyard. The 2003 vintage was, to put it politely, a struggle session. It was incredibly, incredibly difficult. It was the most complex and difficult vintage arguably they'd ever been through. It was one of the worst droughts in history. Rainfall only 70% of the previous year, left the soil moisture profiles and dams lower than at the start of winter. So that's not good. Spring was frosty and windy, but not overly wet. So it was a struggle session from the very beginning. Frost in October, bad news for many. The rains were at least strategic, resulted in better fruit set than the previous year in 2002. The hot, dry and windy weather during the summer had stressed the vines severely. And this has resulted in smaller berries and a reduced crop. And it was only going to get worse from there. Often likened to 1983, which is obviously remembered for the more of the horrors of Ash Wednesday, when the huge wildfires swept through and the Barossa flood. Vines look surprisingly good. However, the crops were light. There wasn't a lot of fruit to be dealing with, except for the Riesling, which apparently thrived. However, the ancient dry-grown vines groaned as they searched deep with their old gnarled roots for any faint sniff of moisture. Growers were talking about crop reduction of up to 30%, but it was far, far worse than that. Then, just as the vines were succumbing to the hot, dry conditions, and what we mean by that is the They hadn't produced much fruit. The fruit they had was shriveling, but it was at least getting used to it. But there was shrinkage, there was shrivelage, there was evaporation from within the grapes. But they were fine. We'll deal with it. But what vines hate, what farmers hate, what vines hate is changes, and especially
Like extreme
huge
changes.
huge extreme changes. So what then happened, which made things immeasurably worse, was there was rain. But not just a little bit. 75 mils worth of rain fell within 24 hours. So these previously starting to shrivel grapes that were, the skins were brittle, having been dried under the incredibly harsh South Australian sun with zero rainfall that they to speak of, all of a sudden had a downfall of rain that was ridiculous. And so these brittle little grapes were then pumped full of water to the point where they were then expanded and they popped. They didn't have the elasticity in the skin of the grape because they had dried that much that when they did then get this, because the vines don't give a fuck. The vines were like, I don't give a shit about your wine. I want my fruit, which has got my seeds in, to get eaten by an animal and then shat out 5 miles away to make another vine. That's all they care about. Okay. So they took in as much moisture as they could from that 75 mils in 24 hours that fell. They took in as much as they could and they pumped all of it into those grapes. As they pumped it into those grapes, the grapes expanded. Those brittle skins just couldn't handle it. They popped. As soon as they popped, it's fucked. It's over. You cannot then harvest that unless you're harvesting immediately. And even then, they're not harvesting at any kind of ripeness. So it was over. Mount Eddleston vineyard, which would normally produce 80 tons worth of grapes, that year produced 5.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is a disaster. An absolute disaster. I'm pretty sure you cannot find any 2003 Mount Eddleston anywhere, because even if there is some, it's probably fucked. And if there is some, they produced whatever that is, 10% of what they would normally produce. Maybe less. Maybe 8% of what they would normally produce. It was a mess. So 2003 was a nightmare. In terms of a vintage, they still make some wines, and the Cabernet was obviously from the Eden Valley vineyard, not from Mount Eddleston. So let's dissect this, shall we? If we look them side by side, we've still got a little bit of that brick and garnet in the 18, but way more in the 2003. Cabernet falling off.
It's like an Americano coffee.
What is quite interesting, actually, is the 2003 also, presumably because they were struggling so hard, 91% Cabernet and then also 9% Merlot. So they had to draft in some backup from another vineyard in order to be able to plump out. And it still looks like old Cabernet.
It's interesting to see on all the ones, which I've only just noticed, it has a little extra stickerture, which is the Henschke Museum release. So do you reckon that these wines have been held at the winery and then been sold to the importer?
I would imagine so.
I reckon that's what it is. That's
I mean, Liberty aren't going to be buying these just on spec and store.
And then sitting on them. Just say
because if they fuck them, they fuck them.
Yeah,
no, you guys keep them, send them to me, and that means, because I guess when they arrive at Liberty, this is now fucked. Send it back.
Remember, Greywacky did a similar thing with the ones with the little white, the archive releases.
Yeah.
So that's a similar thing that these guys have done. That's really cool.
Which means we get to try these brilliant wines.
Oh, wow.
Let's have a go with the 2018. So funnily enough, apparently, according to the Liberty website, this is 65% Shiraz, 23% Cab Sav, 9% Cabernet, 3% Merlot. This is the 100% Cabernet on this one. But again, 2018, an absolutely outstanding standout vintage, the vintage of the decade. It's got that lovely menthol, eucalyptus, Cassie's combination.
You know, the longer it's been in the glass, and the more I stick my nose in every single time I visit, it's something different.
Yeah,
which is mega.
Leather.
This is now gone. You know, the really sort of like volatile aromas, they've really sort of subdued.
The Cabernet is, so the 03 is tertiary to the max.
Yeah, but it wasn't when it was first in the glass. It was really eucalyptus heavy and black currant. That's completely dissipated now. It's almost like a port now, like a tawny port now.
Yeah, that's a really great shout. There's just a touch,
It's got raisiny,
touch
it's
of
got
raisin.
nutty,
Yeah,
it's got
exactly.
figgy.
I was gonna say dark nut and chocolate with nuts.
You know, I got Cadbury's bar, but this is
But
used to be my grandma's favourite.
but bitter dark chocolate as
Obviously,
opposed to
Dutch chocolate and all this. Bullshit.
None of it is as good as Belgian chocolate, where they grow a lot of cocoa.
Well, you know, I'm from Belgium, mate.
Yeah. Right, let's have a go at the
Jawel.
2018 Cyril.
Yes.
Let's have a pub.
Oh, wow. Yeah, boy. Cabernet Street. What's up?
Fuck.
I've been there before. That's incredible. Oh, wow. You know, see, and I love
It's
young
got
Cabernet.
that younger Cabernet.
I
I
love it.
swear is better than older Cabernet. Oh, I take
don't
it
know,
back.
is it?
I take it back. I take it back. I don't know, but it's that raciness, that kind of that
Powerful, isn't it?
energy, and that fucking it's
Picked everything.
it's you know, it's almost cocky. Do you know what I mean? The wine is like it's fucking. It walks in there, BDE, fucking strutting around the place. Molly, don't ask what that is. You're on TikTok. You know exactly what it means. Apologies for that, guys and girls at home. But it's got a fucking it's got a race. It's got a kind of like, it's got a swagger.
That's pretty spectacular. ¿Cuánto costa? Oh, okay.
Wonderfully integrated tannins, just vibing alongside everything else, giving it sort of meatiness and muscularity. Fucking brilliant.
That's beautiful.
That is absolutely.
I know. Understand what you were saying. It's like that was one of the standouts. I was like, really? Against all these older ones? I was skeptical.
Well, let's have a go against against the 2003.
03 Cab. Cheers.
Prost. Still good, you know.
Oh wow.
I take it back. I take it back. Old Cabernet is fucking brilliant. It's got a kind of tarmac, boot black, boot polish.
Yeah, I like that.
Like a kind of treacle, like burnt butter, burnt sort of like sponge sugar.
Noisette.
Oh, that's very good.
Très bien. Noisette.
I managed to miss out the Mount Edelstone video, but I do have
a
rather nice little piece that we can share with you now.
Cyril.
From Cyril. Don't give me a fucking advert, YouTube.
This is
son of a bitch.
The best.
Shut up, Stephen Bartlett. No, admittedly, I do like him and his podcast. So,
do you?
Some of it.
No, my podcast. Have you seen those guys?
The 2018 Cyril, I think, is a great way of remembering Cyril. And we do often, talk about him and think about him. He played such an important role in Henschke's history. He was a founder, really, of our single vineyard wines. So I think it's quite appropriate we toast Cyril. Cheers.
Well, of course, Cyril was Stephen's father, and he was a really well recognised part of the industry in those days, when they used to call winemakers vignerons. He was a very distinguished person as well, loved the arts, so there's a lot to him.
Cyril had a fascination with Cabernet and was one of the early growers to plant Cabernet in Eden Valley back in 1960. From 78 now to 2018 is the 40th anniversary. It has really shown how well suited Eden Valley is for Cabernet Sauvignon. It has a beautiful solar panel, if you like, slope facing north that really brings out the aromatics in this particular wine.
Just got beautiful flush of violets and very distinctive Cabernet characters coming up in the glass. And yeah, it's really gorgeous, isn't it?
Love that. Just how prosaic that tasting that is. Yeah, it's really gorgeous, isn't it? Like, come on, guys, give us a little bit more. He's never tasted an 03 Cyril, though, has he? I'm not sure. what that was referencing. Presumably one of my hilarious jokes. Right. So that
I prefer the younger one. I'm gonna do it backwards.
oh, it's close. Stephen Bartlett, yeah, he's never tried a 2003 Cyril. Nah, no, never once with his huge reservoirs of cash. He's just not as cultured as us, is he, guys?
It's gone too porty that for me. Too raisiny, nutty.
So I'm wondering whether
So this is a perfect, sorry, a perfect example of for me that when age has gone a little bit too far for me, and maybe that's because of the vintage. And the
I think it has to be when you look at the O2. And,
Ah,
you know that
Same nose, though.
that Cabernet has got that longevity that it can last and last and last and last. It has to be the fact that the 2003 vintage was such a clusterfuck.
The young one was outstanding. That 18, that was better than the Mount Anderson for me
Better than the I think I probably agree with you.
because it's Cabernet.
Yeah.
That's why, man. Baz loves a Cabernet. We all know that. Yeah, no. That's gonna enter my top 3. That one. The young Cyril is gonna probably be second.
Same.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
I'll have
yeah.
to change it then. So it's gonna be by far the winner, man. That was absolutely wow.
For me,
have we got more of that left? Yeah,
yeah, buddy, like me. Yeah, so for me, my 1, 2, 3 is 4, 5, 2.
4, 5. Yeah, 2. Fuck. No, I have to change that.
Come on.
4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6.
That's you don't mean that.
Yeah.
You don't mean that. Fucking son of a bitch.
4, 5,
Right.
1, just not 2.
What we're gonna do
Unbelievable.
is
Unbelievable taste.
Rose and Lee, if you have a mind to, since you're our only peeps, put on your fucking camera. Let's have a chat. Let's have a fucking chinwag. See what's going on, mate. Because that was a hell of a taste. We whistled through that, mate. An hour and 10.
Bloody hell.
We've never done a tasting in that short of a period.
It's because there was it was one winery, which means there's one story, and that's it. And all the younger ones were all the same vintage,
Yeah.
so it's pretty easy. Man, I can do tasting like this all the time, mate. No problemo. Amazing. What a collection of wine. That is
Hello.
Hey,
Unmute at your peril, or if you are of a mind to. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Because our dear audience would love to know.
Ball was fucking beautiful.
Have you finished it all? Have you finished it all? Have you got any saved?
No, do you know what? Lately, when we've been doing these amazing ones, I've kind of taken little sips and then saved some for later.
For the disco.
So yeah, for the after party.
Hey!
So you guys got some left to have a little tear up now?
Yeah, there's loads left.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's mine though, not sharing it.
Yeah, you guys weighed it out, have you? It looks like that's yours, that's mine.
Now.
Like a little drug dealer scale.
So after 4, where do you guys go from there? Because 4, the 2002 was, like I say, is
amazing,
an absolutely seminal wine. But where are you going after there?
5.
Yeah, I agree. Probably 5.
I agree with Baz on the Cabernet. The
young one. How interesting.
Yeah,
I thought the other one was.
I think it's vintage.
Because of the
I
vintage.
think it's vintage. The vintage, they took a fucking shoeing. You know, it was hard, real hard, for them to even get any wine out. I'm sure, let alone a wine that. I mean, the fact that it's still standing up now, 21 years later, still means that says something, right? But
the cool thing about this tasting, right? We were. I remember, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago or something like that, talking to Jen in the shop about doing something like this where you could like put them kind of literally side by side and see whether it's age or whether it's the vintage or a certain temperature in the year or like what the weather was like or so kind of knowing that you like Cabernet, but knowing that you like young Cabernet, but old Shiraz is like that's another level.
That's a fucking hell of an insight. I never would have thought that before this tasting. That would be my takeaway. Actually, I've got an age limit on my Cabernet that I don't want to go beyond. Right?
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
Sounds fucking on top. So let's
no. I think that's perfect.
But I would say, so I'm trying to think. So I did the 2004 Coonawarra Cab, the Tally, by Balnaves of Coonawarra.
It was very nice.
That was fantastic. So that's 10 years, right? Did the 2009 Margot on New Year's Eve. So that was 15 years, right? I think that I'm finding that sweet spot for Cabernet between about 10
and 15 years. Yeah.
I mean, 10, I'd say about 8. I mean, this is 6, and I fucking love that.
You also have to think about
one tasting where you do the exact same Cabernet, and it's a 1995, 1998, 2002,
Yeah.
2005.
vertical tasting.
But especially if we were going to do it, so we were going to do it, say, with a single vineyard Cabernet. We will do a whatever it might be, and like you say, do 95, 98, 2004, 2010, 2015, 2020. Yeah,
We're
that would be
one each, clearly. However, we're all over.
You know us, we like big boy punch you in the face, Napa Valley, Cab Savs. But
Exactly.
this evening it's been the Shiraz for us, 100%.
I am really impressed with that Cyril Henschke though, the young one, and I thought that was not good. I thought that was going to be too young for me to enjoy, and I've got a bottle at home that's sat in one of these boxes. I don't know what vintage it is. It must be older than that because I've had it for quite a few years. So
how have you got all of these fine wines just sat at home?
Message Susie, we're coming round.
I've got no one to drink it with because if I open it with Susie, she's like, yeah, I prefer
We'll drink it.
I prefer Yorker.
You're not allowed round. Jesus.
There you are.
That'll be the end of it.
I've got a really, really like big magnum of what's it called? The Casa Ferreira.
Quinta de Leda.
Quinta de Leda, like a magnum of that back vintage of some stuff that we bought back in the day. Anyway, this was eye-opening. And you know what?
We're so glad that we've done it.
So am I, because otherwise I would have lost 400 quid as opposed to this the 150.
Well, otherwise I wouldn't have tasted these wines.
I had to tell Barry he's not getting paid for this tasting.
And yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Like he has.
We're not getting paid either.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Key contributors, fucking hell.
No, it was spectacular. You know what? The thing that I didn't expect, and particularly with the Mount Edelson, I couldn't comprehend it. How is that happening? That the aromas were more expressive in the older wine than the younger.
I'll take a punt at why, right? I can't say that I know, but this would be my guess, right? It's just too young. It's like, when you're young, imagine, so the analogy of a person, when you're that young, you don't really know yourself. You don't really know what you like and what you dislike. You go with, you're easily moved by trends and this because you haven't sort of set your standard. Once you go too far in that direction, you go, oh, I don't like that. And you go find I do like that. Haven't really formed a personality yet. There are all of the building blocks there, as we can see, for being a wine that's amazing, but it needs that time for it. So it's just too volatile. It's a young earth before fucking continents are formed. You know what I mean? It's all fucking lava everywhere before all of that shit has actually happened.
With words, doesn't he? He knows that. He knows.
There you go.
Yo, Tarzan.
Hey, you're currently being streamed live on YouTube now. Does that mean?
Probably not the first time. It's okay.
Hey, Tarzan, listen. I've got a question for you. What are you into at the moment? What is your favorite toy to play with?
Minecraft.
Who? Minecraft.
Yeah.
Do you like playing Minecraft? What do you play on? Do you play on the iPad?
Yeah. It's just come for a cracker.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Oh, is that it? Right. See you later, mate.
I thought we were gonna have a good chat about Minecraft.
Yeah, mate. Come on,
No,
man. It's all about Steve and
just
mining
in case
people.
Tom swears.
Mate, I'm sure he's heard it all
I
before.
would
I'm sure
not
he's heard it all before.
swear in front of a child. I'll tell you that right now. Okay.
What seriously? What superheroes is he into? Is it just Minecraft now?
Oh, superhero.
No, he still
Oh.
he still loves
Marvel.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the big one.
Has he gone
And
off
he's a
Toy
big
Story
man.
now?
Oh no, he still loves Toy
Still
Story.
loves Toy Story. Wow.
yeah.
He likes everything. It reminds me of someone.
Yeah.
Starts with Harry, son.
Yeah.
And finishes
He's
with son.
also he
Harry,
likes
son.
United as well. He's
Yeah.
a big football fan.
That is a
mate.
real
Wow,
shame.
that's
That is a
horrible.
real shame.
Horrible.
He is going to grow up
Getting bullied.
cruelly disappointed at every stage. And the sooner you get him onto a proper football team.
Well, like in fads, football teams come and go, don't they? Jurgen Klopp's leaving, so that's good for us Blues. But we'll see. We'll see.
Right.
Great tasting.
What a tasting.
It's like Henschke, it was great in 2002 or whatever. United were great in 2002 as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
I wasn't in England, mate. Fine,
unlike United, Henschke is still good now.
Hey!
The 2002 vintage of Henschke beats the living. Yeah, exactly.
Can't believe you brainwashed that child into liking United.
Well, my favourite was number 4, made when I was 17. So I'm very happy.
My favourite was number 4, and I was about 4 years old. So yeah, that's about right. Hold on.
No,
maybe not.
No. You were 17. I was 19. Okay, all right. Barry was already 40.
I was 24.
When?
You
Right.
35.
27.
You were 37.
No, you weren't.
Fucking hell. I'll tell you what, that running's paying off, mate. You barely look a day.
That was epic. Same. I said to Tom, we should have just done it at your house. Just took all the kit over.
Yeah, but we've done it for the content. It's been streamed on the YouTube. Yeah. There we go. Think about it.
This morning to Tom, you should have just come round.
Oh, but look, he's got his nice. In fact, to be fair, we've got that sign. Do you want the grape to grain sign?
Yeah, let's do Halloween again.
We've
got one of them.
The Halloween thing that we did. So.
And we dressed up.
Oh God! Yeah.
The one we've got's nicer than that one.
Yeah, it's probably better.
Hey, Susie did that. Careful, you'll be in fucking trouble here. With the bald cap and the baseball
and the orange jacket.
Okay, orange jacket. Okay.
Before you started, Tom just went, Rosie and Lee, what the fuck?
What the actual?
Oh man, there's so many
memories.
How many things have we just forgotten over the last 4 or 5 years?
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. Lockdown.
Yeah, well,
I've got to say we appreciate you guys, and without you we wouldn't be doing this today. And it was really something quite special. It's a shame that we weren't in the same room, but it kind of feels like it just now.
I quite like it like this. This is how it's supposed to be.
Lockdown.
Socially distance away.
Yeah.
Just need STJ in the corner.
And also, we're not going to go for cigarettes, and we don't need to worry about your kids being corrupted by us smoking fucking rollies in front of them.
So a big fat cigarette with a Mount Elston O2. Let's go.
Keep it class like that. Tell you what, this 2002 Mount Edleston is very good. Right, job, let's hide this Selassie, Rastafari, peace and love.
Right,
See you guys. Next one, love you.